The West Virginia Mountaineers knock off the UCF Knights down in Orlando, and in a lot of ways, this was one they had to win. If you recall here on Mountaineer Moment, we called it a must-win, and so we're going to talk about this 74-67 come-from-behind victory for the Mountaineers to, in a lot of ways, keep their hopes alive. Stay tuned for this episode of Mountaineer Moment. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. Welcome into episode 148 of Mountaineer Moment. My name's Troy, and this is your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. In this episode, man, it's a recap of perhaps the most exciting win for West Virginia this season on the road against a team who is, at this moment, looking to be in the NCAA tournament field. And you did it in come-from-behind fashion, trailed by as many as 14 points in this game. If that number sounds familiar for a West Virginia road comeback, their most recent road game before this one was against Cincinnati, where they came from behind by 14, also in the second half to win that game. And so West Virginia, back-to-back road games, back-to-back 14-point second half comebacks in an effort to get the win. Again, 74-67. West Virginia improves to 16-9 overall, 7-5 in conference play, as UCF falls to 17-7 and 6-6 overall in the conference. So obviously, there's a lot to jump into here, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see there's a lot over on that right side outline, a lot of things to discuss, and I'll do my best, maybe sort of kind of, to stick to what that outline looks like in order. So obviously, with West Virginia trailing by 14 points in the second half, struggling to shoot it from three, struggling a lot, right? They went 2 for 22 against Texas Tech last time out. A few days later, on the road in Orlando against UCF, you start, I don't even know what they started, but I think they were, 2 for 14 or something to start in that first half. It just wasn't good, and you only trailed by 1 at the half, but it was a initial run by UCF to extend that lead out. I think West Virginia called a timeout, then they bounced back, cut it to like 4 again, and then it was another big run by UCF to extend that thing out to 14, and West Virginia continued to be cold from the floor. And then it was a massive turnaround, right? Because they ended up with 74 points, their first time in the 70s in like a month almost, and you got 46 points in the second half. So just an epic come-from-behind victory in which, we'll get to the box score too in this episode, man. A lot of guys stepped up. In a moment, we're going to talk about Jasper Floyd at length for his performance in this, and we'll talk about Honor Huff. We'll talk about Brennan Lorient and what he brought for some minutes here. We'll talk about Chance Moore and his impressive first half in particular. Amir Jenkins made a couple of nice buckets. And West Virginia claws back somehow, some way to get a 7-point win on the road in a game that we, again, pregame right here on Mountaineer Moment, called a must-win. And through that very bleak first, 7, 8, 10 minutes, whatever it was, to start the second half, right? First half was a 1-point game. You felt all right. UCF jumps out to a 14-point lead. You do not feel all right at all. And I'll be the first one to stand in line for that one. I was angry, and things were looking really bad. And your mind starts to wander because it's like, okay, here I am, host of Mountaineer Moment, just called this a must-win game. And so when West Virginia loses this one, when it goes final, and I jump on to record, I can't go back on that. I can't go back and we'll be like, well, I didn't really mean that. And they showed some fight, they showed some hustle, so I didn't really mean that it was a must-win. No, I called it a must-win game. I thought it was that important. And as things just grew bleaker and bleaker, you began to say, okay, this is it. This team who's squandered lots of opportunities has squandered another one on the road against a team that's in the field at the moment. And, you got 6 games left, but it doesn't look like you're not making the tournament. You're just not. You're not making the big dance. You're not doing it. You're already on the outside looking in. Here'd be an opportunity to get in that conversation a little bit more, but you failed. And that's where my head was at. It's over. And then they come back. Led by Jasper Floyd, led by Honor Huff, led by Belo. They come back, play great defense, start making some shots, make your free throws. 16 for 19. I think they started like 2 of 4. 16 of 19 to close out this game. Now it helps when Honor Huff gets to the line. He got to the line 8 times, made all of them, which is massive. Eagle staff made his 4 free throws. But things looked really bad until all of a sudden they didn't. And you come back and you get a must-win game in come-from-behind fashion. So this was massive, to say the least. And again, before we move on, I just want to say, too, if you're still here, Mountaineer Moment, episode 148, we would love for you to join this growing Mountaineer Moment community. So hit that subscribe button for us, whatever platform you're on. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. I would love and appreciate you subscribing and joining this growing community. We've been at this thing since late August, the start of football season. Don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And what we do consistently through basketball season is give you a preview of the Mountaineers' upcoming game and then a post-game reaction and analysis, which is what we're doing right here as we break down this game against UCF on the road. So again, hit that subscribe button for us, and would love to have you join us along for further episodes, more content coming your way. Speaking of frustration, right? It was a frustrating start to that second half for West Virginia. Well, there were major FS1 issues in the first half. Like, I don't know if anyone, like, before the major issue happened, like, my screen was, like, kind of glitchy. I don't know if that was just my screen on Hulu or what, but my screen was, like, glitchy pretty consistently in the first half. Not that it kept you from seeing anything, really, but it was frustrating. And then, all of a sudden, I want to say it was, like, the 6.5 minute mark or something. Jasper, someone's from West Virginia, is dribbling up the court. Like live ball, clock running, and they just go to a commercial break. Just straight up go to a commercial break for like 3 minutes. Meanwhile, the game is still being played. And they come back. I remember the exact number. There was 3 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. And like, I don't even think we saw a dribble. Like you cut back into the action, they're still going, and then literally right when you got back to the game, the ref's whistle blows, and it's the under 4 timeout, and it's back to 3 minutes more of commercials. It was insane. I mean, it was insane, and they barely caught, like, right out of that timeout. Like, you jumped in, and it was like the ball was in. Crazy FS1 issues, and one of the commentators, his mic was super echoey in the first half, and fortunately, they did fix things in the second half. They were apologetic, and I think overall the announcers did a great job. I said the same thing over at Locked On West Virginia with Mountaineer Paul. I thought the announcers really hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways in this one because of the game's importance and what it meant for both teams to get this win. I think it was bigger for West Virginia because UCF is a team that's still on the inside of the field, though they've on a 3-game skid here, which hurts their chances, hurts their stock. But West Virginia, I mean, if I'm calling it a must-win game, then it was a must-win game, and they got that win. So, but it was frustrating with the TV issues there in that first half. Fortunately, it wasn't the second half in the middle of that comeback. 3-point shooting for West Virginia. Again, they started really bad. You know, we'll say 2 for 12, and they were 2 for 22 against Texas Tech the game before. They finished 6 of 23. So if it was indeed 2 for 12, it was 4 for 11 down the stretch, including 3 by Honor Huff, who made an and 1 3 and made 2 others, 3 of 10 from downtown, 8 of 8 from the free throw line. But, Eagle Staff didn't hit a 3. He had 8 points. The only other guy to hit a 3 on this team was a guy who's reluctant to take him at times. And even tonight, he was reluctant to take him at times. He was 3 for 5, 6 for 8 from the floor, 17-point performance for the point guard, Jasper Floyd, which will take us into that kind of point, man. This was, you remember that opening game against Mount St. Mary's? It was like he dropped 20-plus points way back in November. I get that I'm bringing up that, but like that's how regularly you see, or how infrequently you see Jasper Floyd produce like a lot of points. You know, I mean, this was, in fact, his second highest scoring output of the season. He had 25 against Mount St. Mary's, and he had 17 against UCF. This was the most threes he's made in a game with 3. He's made 2 a couple times. Hasn't made a 3. Jasper Floyd hasn't made a 3 since that last time you got over 70 points against Arizona State on the road, when he made 2 out of 3 threes, had 5 boards and 4 assists. Interesting point in this one. This was not his first game without an assist, but he doesn't do that often, averaging 3 assists a game. He did not have an assist against UCF, and he did have 4 turnovers. A couple of them were just bonehead plays, I felt like. Here I am supposed to be praising Jasper Floyd for his performance. I'm bringing up the mistakes. You know, he a couple of times just tried to force things because he wasn't comfortable with the jump shot, and force things and turn the ball over. But 17 points, 3 out of 5 from 3. Just massive, massive game from Jasper Floyd. Not to mention what he did on the defensive end. He was so good. Anybody he guarded, he made them more uncomfortable. You know, whether it was Folks who did heat up in the second half with 19 points. I think all 19 came in the second half for Folks. Kugel went 3 of 10 for 13 points. Obviously, Jasper spent a little bit of time there and switched on to guys and held his own, even, you know, in the post against some bigger players. But Folks was 7 for 16. He had 7 assists, 4 rebounds. He had 6 turnovers. And so, you know, Jasper Floyd the commentators, I think, really nailed this too. Like, there was one play, there was an ISO situation with Folks on Floyd, and Floyd played an incredible defense, but it was just an elite shot. I think that might have been the exact wording. It was just an elite shot from Folks, and he tipped your cap. But he made life difficult for him. You know, and there was a stretch of that second half where Folks really dominated, but like Jasper made him earn every single point. And, you know, there were moments, you know, there was I forget who it was, but in the first half, I think it was, you know, maybe it was second half, a UCF player had the ball and started to back down Jasper, but Jasper forced him into a travel. You know, it's just, he's really, really good on ball defense, and West Virginia needed every single bit of that in this game. So hats off to Jasper Floyd in his 31 minutes played, again, 6 for 8 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3, 17 points, and you needed all of it, right? When it's an off shooting night for this team, which is, by the way, really, really frequently, it helps to know that, you know, to have Jasper make 3 threes. I mean, oh my goodness. And it helps to have Honor Huff go for 21. A lot of that in the second half, 8 of those coming at the free throw line, and to knock down some timely buckets, right? To, you know, the moment where, I don't know what it put us up, 6 or 7 points, and, you know, really, really late in the second half, when it was John Bull switching on to Huff, and you're like, oh boy. And he shot it. He couldn't see the rim. The announcer said, and he just flung it up and threw it in. Just an incredible shot from Honor Huff, who finally got going. Obviously, again, he wasn't, you know, he had a couple bad misses, but he's a really good shooter, and he still has confidence. And you needed him to shoot, and he did. You know, one of the things, as we, you know, go a little deeper into the box score, so Chance Moore had 12 points off the bench. He was 6 of 10 from the floor, 5 rebounds for him, and 2 blocks. So he was really good in 22 minutes. And then DJ Thomas, 0 for 5 from the floor off the bench. Again, Eagle staff, 8 points, 2 of 9. Belo, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 5 of 11. He had a stretch in the second half that was really pivotal. And one, back down, turnaround, and just made a great shot. Obi Oha, non-existent. I thought he was going to have to be a factor, and I was wrong, and I'm glad I was wrong, because he had 0 points, 0 for 1 shooting, and 5 rebounds. Just really didn't have it. And John Bull, season high in blocks for him with 5. He really created a problem for West Virginia on the inside. And again, we entered this game, and the facts are the facts. The numbers are the numbers. Maybe they were a little misleading, but like, this team ranked 281st or something in opposing field goal percentage inside the 3-point arc. And, you know, you thought maybe, just maybe, this team, West Virginia, was going to be able to get some stuff at the rim, and they did. Obviously, Chance Moore, Belo, Honor Huff had a nice drive after everybody in the gym thought he was going to pull up for 3 on the fast break, and he drove it in. But yeah, I mean, Bowl made it really, really difficult on this West Virginia team. You out-rebounded UCF 37-31. We mentioned offensive rebounds are going to be a key number to watch. West Virginia had 13. A lot of those early. They had like a 10 in the first half or something like that, dude. I'm not making that up, I don't think. 13 offensive rebounds on the game compared to 9 for UCF. So it was good to win that battle. Like we mentioned pregame, that was going to be something to keep an eye on. And again, if you flop those numbers around, I don't know how many second chance points West Virginia got off that. They didn't have many early. But if it was UCF with 13 offensive boards and you with 9, UCF might have won the game. So you were able to out-rebound them on the defensive glass and the offensive glass, which helped you get this victory. 6 for 18 shooting from UCF from 3, and then 6 for 23 for West Virginia on the game. Both teams made their free throws. Again, 13 of 16 for UCF, 16 of 19 for West Virginia, thanks to Honor Huff getting the job done down the stretch and leading you to victory in this game. It was such an important game, and you could feel that in the atmosphere. You could feel it in Orlando. It felt like a lot of Mountaineer fans were there. You could hear them making noise, and this West Virginia team, it was a balanced offensive attack. And what I was going to get to just a couple minutes ago, Jasper Floyd, obviously timely baskets, exceptional defense. Honor Huff, timely baskets in the second half that you needed desperately. And then Belo. There was a stretch where he kind of dominated things for a couple minutes. There was a stretch where, Chance Moore jumped out with the scoring early. He probably had all 12 of his points within the first 26 minutes or something like that. I don't know. But he had 8, I think, at half. At least 8 at half. And, there were stretches that he really was the guy. And trust me, you needed every bit of that. And so it was, it was not like it was iso ball, although you only had 4 assists. So in a lot of ways, maybe it was. But there were just moments where it was like Belo said, you know what, over this next stretch, I'm going to be the guy. And he was. Honor Huff, same thing. I'm going to be the guy. And he stepped up. Jasper Floyd, defensively, all game long, he stepped up. But offensively, when they needed a bucket, he took the shot and made it. So just really nice, balanced attack, for West Virginia. You had 4 guys in double figures. Jasper and Honor Huff combined for 38. Belo pours in 11, and then Chance Moore 12 points off the bench. So as we kind of close out this episode 148 of Mountaineer Moment, again, want to invite you to hit that subscribe button and keep following along as we have new content coming your way all throughout football and basketball season. But let's get practical here. Let's get bubble talk. Let's get NCAA tournament implications and all of that here as we close out this episode, thinking through the big picture for the Mountaineers. So you improve to 16-9. In a lot of ways, and we'll talk about it, as we round out this thing, in a lot of ways, like you're thinking, well, what's the magic number? Is it 20? Is it 21? If it's 20, what do you have to do in the Big 12 tournament? Right now, you got to 16. And if without a 14-point second-half comeback, you're stuck on 15 with 6 to go, and that's not pretty. And so you capitalize, you get a win. And just how much does this move the needle for you to be taken into consideration when it comes to the NCAA tournament field? As you know, if you've kept up with Mountaineer Moment over the last couple weeks, it seems like, the one that we look at, because you can look at every bracketologist and come up with a million different things and put just about every team on the bubble, But the one we look at the most has been Joe Lunardi, ESPN, and he's got his 4 categories, last 4 buys as far as teams that are almost safely in, but it's not really. Last 4 teams that are in, first 4 teams that are out. So 8 teams combined in the middle that he says are just on the either side of the bubble. And then he has the next 4 out. And West Virginia is not part of any of those 4 groups. There's 16 teams that Joe Lunardi has as part of those 4 groups, and West Virginia is not there. But I think as late as today, Saturday the 14th, Lunardi did have West Virginia in that next. So first 4 out, next 4 out, and then like right under that is like 3 or 4 teams listed And that was before this win against UCF. Without analyzing every single bubble team and what they did this weekend, West Virginia, here's the fact. You beat a UCF team that Joe Lunardi had in the NCAA tournament field. A lot of guys projecting them as an 8 or 9 seed heading into Saturday's game, and he beat them on the road. Massive win. And so you want to talk about inserting yourself into that conversation or to be taken more seriously. West Virginia will absolutely now be taken more seriously, and that's why it was a must win, and why it ended up being a massive win, because now you are in that conversation. With a loss, you're drifting further and further away. Not that, certainly, because if we learn our lesson from last year, not that bracketology is everything, and not that Joe Lunardi knows everything, but this one helps you. There's no denying it. And, if you think around the Big 12 too, 2 points here. So West Virginia is 7-5. They're tied for 6th place in the Big 12, and they're tied with a BYU team that went to overtime at home against Colorado today to get that win. Had they lost that one, you'd be in sole possession of 6th place in the Big 12 standings. That's pretty wild. And then there was another big bubble game today at noon that went into overtime between TCU and Oklahoma State. At Oklahoma State, TCU gets the win, so a big week for them, coming off the heels of a home win against Iowa State. They've won 3 consecutive games, including a win over K-State too, and they're 6-6. UCF 6-6. Cincinnati 5-7, but they're 13-12 overall. They're not really being talked about, obviously. And then Oklahoma State's 4-8 in conference now, but they're 16-9. Baylor had an opportunity against a ranked Louisville team today, and they lost that one. And so I think they're I don't know if any other bracketologists have been considering them, but Lunardi's got to stop, man. I think they're out, man. 13-12, 3-9, sole possession of 14th place in the Big 12. Like, give me a break. They're gone. They're gone. But if you watch pregame and you consider bubble teams right here, well, you got West Virginia, you got TCU, you got Oklahoma State, and now with 3 consecutive losses, you got UCF thrown into that picture. 4 teams. West Virginia has a better conference record as it sits right now than all of those teams. UCF's, Oklahoma State, again, they're 4-8 in Big 12 play. West Virginia has upcoming matchups with UCF to end the season at home, with TCU on the road next Saturday, with Oklahoma State on the road after that. Like, endless possibilities and opportunities for this West Virginia team. And we said, if you remember, if you were here pregame, 7 games left, 4 of them are against NCAA tournament bubble teams. And so if you want to make the tournament, if you want to take matters into your own hands, go beat other teams that are on the bubble. All of those teams, according to Lunardi, were ahead of you. UCF, ahead of you. TCU, ahead of you. Just beat Iowa State, right? Just beat Oklahoma State on the road. Oklahoma State, ahead of you. Are they ahead of you now? I don't know. They just lost at home to a bubble team in TCU. West Virginia gets a road win against UCF. So, they're in that conversation. And what we know, and what I think safely say, is not all 4 of those teams are getting in, right? There's 6 teams in the Big 12, the top of the Big 12, and Houston, Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas, Texas Tech, BYU that are in. Then there's West Virginia, UCF, TCU, Oklahoma State. Will 2 get in? Will 3 get in? I don't think 4 get it in. Will it be 1? What do you have to do to make it 1? Well, knock off TCU and Oklahoma State and be that team. So as you think big picture with the Mountaineers here with 6 to go, and I don't want to go as far to say that the magic number is 20, because of what I do think is if you get to 20 and then you drop dead in the in the conference tournament or lay an egg, I don't want to be sweating out another Selection Sunday. But you have 6 games left. Your next game is on Wednesday night against a Utah team that is 1-10 in Big 12 play. Got to take care of business. Bounce back at home where you've lost 2 in a row. You win that one, you get to 8-5. And again, like I said over on Locked On West Virginia with Mountaineer Paul, like at some point, if you keep winning and you create separation between those teams that are on your heels, like UCF in the Big 12 standings and TCU and Oklahoma State, who's 4-8, but they're not on your heels, but they're in that bubble conversation. You keep winning, you finish this thing 11-7 in Big 12 play. How do you keep an 11-7 team out and put in a 8-10 team in? Right? Like at some point, you could be you realistically, you go 4-2 down the stretch, and you certainly could. You have Utah at TCU, at Oklahoma State, home versus BYU, at K-State versus UCF. West Virginia could lose all of those games, but West Virginia could win all of those games too, right? Like there's not Arizona, there's not Iowa State or Texas Tech or Kansas. There's BYU team that has some holes. So like to go 4-2 isn't out of the. It's not out of the cards, and that would put you at 11-7 in conference. And meanwhile, that very well could put you at the number six team in the Big 12 standings. So like that's massive. That's massive. And so in what world do you get 8 teams in the Big 12 from the Big 12 in the March Madness, and the team that went the team that's 6th place in the conference standings doesn't get in? Right? Like at some point you got to put that team in, and West Virginia controls their own destiny in order to, maybe get to 11-7, get you to 20 wins, and enter the conference tournament. So, I get that I'm a little bit rambling here down the stretch, but just kind of thinking through things because it's the time to do it. We called it a must-win against UCF. You won the game. You got 6 more to go. First thing first against a Utah team that's not good. That's 9-15. That's 1-10. Take care of business. Couldn't they beat West Virginia? Yes. With this offense, yes. with the way we struggle sometimes, yes, they could beat us. Don't let it happen. Right? Live to see another day. Knock off them, or knock Utah off. Head to TCU for a battle. You're going to stay TCU and Oklahoma State, both of them on the road, consecutive games. Those are going to be massive. Can you split? Do you win both? Do you drop both? Right? What's West Virginia going to be looking like in 10 days? Right? Because between now, February 14th, the 18th, you got Utah. The 21st, you got TCU on the road. The 24th, you got Oklahoma State on the road. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be? We shall see. So, again, my name's Troy. This is Mountaineer Moment, episode 148, and we would love for you to continue to grow this channel and be a part of this Mountaineer Moment community. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. And, man, it's time to be fired up for what West Virginia just did. 14-point second-half comeback to keep March hopes alive as we're in mid-February right now. And another big game coming up against Utah at home. West Virginia looks to bounce back at the Coliseum where they've dropped 2 in a row. Let's get right. Let's get right. Let's take care of business and move on to the next. But we'll have you covered there with pregame coverage for West Virginia and Utah. So be sure to be on the lookout for that episode. And then we'll see you post-game too, of course. But for Mountaineer Moment, episode 148, my name's Troy. And we will see you next time. Let's go Mountaineers.